On this episode, we talk about how we grow leaders within the organization, how we turn no's to yeses, and the difference between manipulation and leadership. Sometimes pain is a part of the process, and so I'm excited about where we're at right
now. Grass is on my head, feel like a honeycomb, cause I'm on the dead or alive. You would've thought I was whipping and pushing and selling this dope.
So the struggle is necessary in order for the success.
They trying to ghost your boy, they pulling the gun out the holster. But I'm doing me like I'm posted, yeah.
Hey, what's going on? This is Eugene Johnson. Welcome to E Square, episode number 4, where we talk and answer questions about entrepreneurship, life, sales, all of that stuff. So let's get going with the first question of the day. Jasmine, what you got for us?
First question, what is the difference between sales and branding?
Ooh, okay. So this is an actual fun one because branding and marketing end up being the same thing. Branding and marketing is really focused on how can I communicate the message of my company to the outside world. And too many people try to market like they sell. And you see this often with the day-to-day aspect of trying to create a space for other people to see what you do and asking for things in the same place. And so let me kind of explain what I mean by this. You put out a post on social media, and every 10 posts that you put out, 9 out of the 10 posts say, buy my stuff, come to my place, go to my website, so on and so forth. This is marketing that they think they're marketing, but they're actually selling in the process. Sales is about being able to tell a person how to buy your product. Marketing is about giving people an opportunity to get the inside view of what your company is about and how you operate. And a lot of people make the mistake of trying to mesh the two, and you should not. When you're marketing, you should market, you should brand build. And that's all about getting people to fall in love with you. That's all about getting people to fall in love with your company, your concept, finding ways to touch people in significant and different ways. And then when it's time to sell, then you sell. So what I usually tell people is if you're marketing, every 4th to 6th post that you market, or every 4th to 6th way that you try to tell the story, whatever channel you tell them on, that's when you sell. Every 4 to 6 times you touch the customer. But most people have it backwards. They try to sell every post that they put out, every piece of marketing material that they put out is really a sales piece that they're hoping to try to pull actual dollars from. So the difference between sales and marketing is really simple. Sales, you're trying to grab $1. Marketing, you're trying to grab attention. And the question becomes, which one are you focused on? If you're focused on marketing, then market, grab attention, put out content, put out things that people actually care about so that they can build a brand and feel comfortable with who you are, what you sell, and why you sell it. And then if you are selling, make sure that you're selling and you try to grab $1. And don't be ashamed to sell, right? If you're selling, don't be ashamed to sell. But if you're marketing, don't be dumb and sell while you're marketing, because that ends up being a bad fit, and it ends up building a scenario where people just get tired of listening to you. Imagine somebody called you up every day and said, hey, you wanna buy? You wanna buy? You wanna buy? You wanna buy? At some point in time, you'll be like, no, stop calling me, right? And so that's really the focus there. Cool, next question.
What's the difference between a leader and a manager?
There is a lot I could say there. You all right, bro? Was that a flash? I was like, did the light just go up, or what happened? It was a flash. Okay. The difference between a leader and a manager is really simple. A manager is focused on structures, numbers, organizational operation. All of these things is really what a manager is focused on. A leader is focused on a person, and they're saying, how do I develop this person to become better than they are or better than they were yesterday? How do I develop this person today to become better than they were yesterday? And that's a huge difference between a manager and a leader. I actually have it's a 4 video set. I did like 7-hour leadership training, and it was the 10, what did I call it? Because I put it out maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. It was like the 10 focuses of mastering the quality of leadership. And a lot of it is really wrapped around the focus of, are you worried about the people, or are you worried about the company, the organization, whatever you're doing on the back end. So leadership is really about how I develop a person. How do I take a person from where they are to where they want to be? And here's the thing, I don't talk about this often on camera. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever talked about this on camera. There is a fine line between once you get beyond management and you're actually, say, okay, how do I develop? How do I, manage? How do I develop? How do I create a scenario that makes the person better? And reminding yourself that when you know you're a leader is when you step away and your organization can now operate without you. That's when you know you're stepping into leadership. So when you get to a development, there's actually two things that happen in the leadership scenario. There is a very close line between leadership and manipulation. And I don't do a lot of talking about this, but I think that it's super important for people to understand what the difference is between leadership and manipulation. And here's what the difference is. When you manipulate a person, actually they're almost exactly the same except for one thing. When you manipulate a person, you do it for your benefit. When you lead a person, you do it for their benefit. But how you do it is exactly the same. You are convincing a person to do something that they didn't plan on doing themselves. That is in the essence, that is manipulation. Now, if you're doing it for your benefit, then that is manipulation. If you're doing it for the benefit of the person, then that's leadership. And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but that's really the reality of leadership. Your job as a leader is to be able to get somebody to do something that they wouldn't have done if you weren't there. And that's really what my focus is from a leadership perspective. There's a lot I could say on leadership. It's probably one of my favorite topics. It's one of the things that is in our culture focus for our company, Zyro. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it there since I want to make sure we get to all the questions. All right, let's go to question number 3.
All right, how do you get by when you have a long sales cycle?
All right, so I think this question is probably not the most well thought question. And the reason why I say this is because I guess what they're trying to ask is, how do you wait for commissions? Like, I wonder what is the back end of what they're actually asking. Because the difference between a long sales cycle and a short sales cycle shouldn't matter if your company is structured in a way where you still get paid for whether something sells or not. So I don't know how to answer this question. It's not direct enough.
Well, okay, in that case, we got something from the IG Live. This is from It's Chente.
Okay. I have no clue who that is.
How do we incorporate leadership, growth, transitioning people into higher spots?
Wait, say that one more time.
How do we incorporate leadership, growth, / transitioning people into higher spots?
Okay, basically, how do you promote people? I think that's really that should be your number one focus. If you're a leader and you're not actually developing people to next levels, then I would really hesitate to wonder whether you were actually a leader or not. Your focus should always be, how do you move and develop people to the next level? And I think that the major focus, you want to focus on really 3 things. One is developing them as a person. So you've got to get them to a place where internally they believe in themselves. Internally they believe in their abilities. Internally they have everything that they need mentally to step into that next level. Because when you step into another level, it doesn't matter if you go from an associate to a senior associate, or a director to a manager, or a manager to a director, I should say. Either one of those scenarios, every time you step into a new position, there's a new level of expectation. And you have to be mentally ready to gather or get ready for that new level of expectation. And a lot of people are not ready for it. You step into a role and you're just like, wow, I didn't expect that I had to do so much in this particular role. And so my mentality would be to really focus on getting them mentally ready. The second thing is getting them skill-wise ready. So you're constantly thinking about, does this person have the skills necessary to be able to do this particular job? See, I knew it was a light. Does this person have the skills necessary to do this particular job that you're trying to develop them for? Now, usually they don't. And so now your focus is, how do I develop them from a skills perspective? Matter of fact, Marvin, we've been having these conversations for the last like 3 days straight. It's like, okay, cool. I want to move him to the next level. So here's the skills that I need him to have in order for him to get to the next level. I think that's a conversation I've had with you, Andrew, is really constantly trying to figure out what skills are missing in order for that person to be great at the next level that they're involved with. So that's the second thing. So if you're a leader and you're developing people, the first thing is getting them right mentally. The second thing is getting their skills right. The third thing is getting their leadership right. If you promote a person, they should be in a scenario where they can turn back and get another person to that next level as well. And so they have to be able to have the skills to take a person and take them through the same process that you took them through. And I think that's an ongoing thing. But that would be my focus, and I think that's a great question. So if you're a leader and you're saying, I need to get my people to the next level, you should be focused on mentally, are they at the next level? Can they handle the pressure? Can they deal with what they want, what comes with the territory? Like I talk a lot about people wanting to be entrepreneurs. But the question is, can you handle the pressure of being entrepreneurs? There are people that get the pressure of being an entrepreneur and then they fall under the weight of the pressure. And so are you really ready for that mentally? And then can you get their skills right? And then can you basically develop them to be able to develop others? That would be the focus if I wanted to develop a person. Honestly, that's my focus on a constant basis. That's always what I'm thinking about.
All right, what has been your biggest achievement this year?
This year? Ooh, okay. So, honestly, I've been really thinking about this. This is actually, I might write a book about this because this is probably the thing I'm the most proud of in the history. And I think I might have mentioned this on a show, 2 or 3 episodes ago. But this is the thing that I'm most proud of myself from a business perspective. And I tend not to like toot my own horn or pat myself in the back. I just kind of keep moving forward. But I had to take a minute and really kind of say, man, that was pretty damn good. It was basically last year. So last year, we had to make a pivot. And in the midst of that pivot, I got stuck having to make a decision that I did not want to make, which is we had to let go of some people. And I had to reframe and restructure the company. And the people that we had were not going to be able to help us to do that in that time period that we needed to do it. So we needed to get as lean as possible, figure out the new product, build the new product, and then get it out. And I think that it was one of the hardest times in my life from a business perspective, and probably one of the most fulfilling even on the back end, because it took us basically between November and February. So November, December, January, and February. We basically pivoted. We first had to downsize the company, pivot the company, get a new product, develop the product, build the product, put it out, beta test it, sell against it, and then raise around to then be able to deploy it. And we had to do all of that in 4 months. Now, the reality is that in normal circumstances, most companies can't do that in 2 years. And we did it in 4 months. And I think that that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of. I'm honestly thinking about writing a book about that 4-month time period, because I think that we experienced every single thing negative and positive that an entrepreneur can experience in a 4-month period of time. So yeah, it was crazy, but it was fulfilling on the back end. It was hard in the beginning, even harder in the middle, and fulfilling at the end.
All right, last question. How do you turn a no into a yes?
You don't. That's the reality. You don't turn a no into a yes. I think that that's probably the biggest mistake that sales reps try to make, or entrepreneurs or anybody, right? Like you know, amateurs convince, professionals sort. And there are too many amateurs out there trying to convince people to do something that's against their will. But the reality is, if someone does something against their will, they're of the same opinion still. That's a philosophy I think you should really kind of take in. The most people, if you convince them, they probably still believe what they believe before you convince them. And so the reality is, instead of trying to turn no's into yeses, just try to get through the no's fast enough to get to the yeses. And I think that should be the philosophy on a constant basis. And I really think that that's probably the thing that separates those who win at a high level and those who don't. It's because hearing no is probably the form of rejection. It's the reason why guys don't go talk to girls out on the street. It's because they are so afraid of getting a no that they're like, I'm not gonna take the chance. Now, I don't know, Jasmine, I don't know how many guys go and try to talk to you on the streets. I don't know how many times you have to kind of shut people down. But the reality is that, most guys feel uncomfortable doing that because of the possibility of getting the no. And I have seen fear kill more opportunities of success than failure ever will. And so many people are so afraid not to fail that the fear of failure actually stops them from moving forward when it's the failure necessary in order to move forward. Like if you're a child and you want to walk, you can't say, as if you're a parent and you see your child trying to walk and they try to walk and they fall, then you're like, oh, nope, this walking thing is not for you. I'm not letting you fall again. Like that would be ridiculous. The whole opportunity of watching your child fall, get back up, fall again, like that's a part of life. That's a part of, success. And I think too many people are trying to avoid that. Now, be smart. When that kid is trying to fall, maybe you learn your lesson the first time and get some protective stuff. So what happened was when my son was trying to walk, we had this little pad. It was like this padded kids thing that had numbers and letters on it. And so we had him trying to walk on that, but we had hardwood floors. And so one time he fell off of the little padded thing and hit his head on the floor. And so I was we were super mad and we're like, all right, he was okay. But when we moved into our next house, we were like, yo, we're getting carpet. So sometimes you gotta learn how to pad it up to make sure that you protect yourself in case of a fall, because there's a concept of risk. And you say, okay, how much risk are you willing to take? People think that most people who are successful take the most risk, but that's not the reality. Actually, the reality is the more successful you are, the less risk you take. The more calculated risk you take, but the less random risk you take. So this is why insurance is the big thing for rich people. When rich people get rich, they take big bets and then they insure against their loss on the big bet. That's called being smart. This is called protecting your, going for the upside while protecting your downside. And I think that most people don't think about that. They just think, okay, I'm gonna run. Hopefully I'm successful. And then if I don't wanna fail, so if I run into a roadblock, I could potentially fail. I'd rather not move forward instead of actually pushing through, moving forward, and you'll get to that place of success. So that is basically what I would say to those who are trying to get a yes or a no into a yes.
All right,
Awesome. That was the last question. So we're gonna do a question of the day. We're gonna ask you guys a question and have you guys give answers, right?
Yeah.
And I want to hear some questions from you guys. You guys give us a question of the day. We'll go with Jasmine's question of the day today.
I want to go back to when you were talking about branding and building that relationship.
Nice.
I want to hear what people's favorite brands are.
Okay.
Building out a relationship with.
All right. So here's the question of the day. Who is your favorite brand? And I'm gonna add something to that. Why? Interested to hear what you got to say. Awesome. Thank you for the time. Talk to you soon. Peace.
In the ghost, your boy, they pulling the gun out the holster. But I'm doing me like I'm posted. Yeah. You're smart out here like the Wild Wild West. Shorty right there.